This is VK3CSJ in Narre Warren South. Please stand by for this morning's WIA broadcast at 9 a.m. on 1825 kHz in the 160 metre amateur radio band.
This national news edition originates from VK1WIA and is rebroadcast throughout Australia and around the world under a common licence published on the WIA website. This WIA national news service is copyright to the Wireless Institute of Australia, and rebroadcast is authorised only under the provisions of that common licence. WIA Director and Company Secretary Peter Cleave, VK8ZZ.
From Australia, this is the Wireless Institute of Australia with the weekly news service. This broadcast is in text, audio and video and is accessed on wia.org.au.
Well, we certainly hope you've had a great Christmas. In WIA National News this week, WIA President Scott Williams, VK3KJ, WIA Returning Officer Pete Cherry, VK2LP, and VK5 leads the way in gaining new amateurs. But wait, there's more, much more in this edition of news from your Wireless Institute of Australia for the week commencing Sunday, December 28, 2025, and I'm Editor Graham, VK4 Baker.
This is VK1WIA.
Chapter 1.
All points of contacts from today's news stories are to be found in print when you read the web editions, www.wia.org.au.
This is WA President Scott Williams, VK3KJ, and I just wanted to extend a warm Christmas message to all WA members and listeners of the broadcast. I want to take this opportunity to personally thank all of our members for your continued support of the WIA through 2025. The WIA continues to work hard in the background to support our members and the amateur radio community in so many ways. There is always work to do, but the in-kind contribution from so many volunteers at the WIA is outstanding and so greatly appreciated. There continues to be a strong sense of purpose in the WIA, enriched by 115 years of deep history. This purpose is driven by volunteers that care, that want to advance the Institute and are proud of the contribution they make. The WIA is only what it is because of our members, and we thank every member for the contribution you make, small or large. On a personal note, I wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and a safe and prosperous New Year. Please also raise a glass and have a drink to reflect on all of those silent keys that left us this year. Our thoughts are with those families and friends. To the Board of Directors, thank you for your ongoing work. To our volunteers, we are deeply indebted. And to you, Graham, and all the contributors to the broadcast, thank you for delivering an outstanding broadcast week after week and year after year. Merry Christmas and best wishes for the new year. 7 threes to you all. Scott, VK3KJ.
Election of the Directors of the WIA. Last Sunday, I announced that there were 4 nominations received for the 3 director roles that will be vacant at the end of the WIA AGM in May 2026. Therefore, in accordance with the election regulations, an election will be held by ballot. After confirmation the nominations are valid, the candidates for election are Chris Dmitrijevic, VK3FY, Klaus Ilhart, VK3IU, Lee Moyle, VK3GK, Justin Giles Clark, VK7TW. The bio details of the nominees will be emailed to all members and published in the January-February edition of Amateur Radio Magazine. The bios will also be included with the postal voting papers sent to those members opting for a postal vote. This year, as it was last year, the election will be held electronically with an option for a postal vote. For now, I can advise you the election ballot will commence on 1 February 2026 and close on 28 February 2026. This time frame includes the option to vote by post. Registration for a postal vote has been open since November and closed at 2:30 p.m. on Wednesday, 24 December 2025. In order to be able to vote in this election, members must be financial as of 31 December 2025. Please check the membership portal to ensure that your correct email address is recorded. While I will communicate to you the election results as soon as practical after the election is closed, the formal declaration of the election will be announced at the WIA Annual General Meeting to be held on Saturday, 2 May 2026. This announcement has been spoken and authorized by Pete Cherry, VK2LP, the returning officer of the Wireless Institute of Australia.
Education. The combined Adelaide-based amateur radio training group, drawing on assessors from the Adelaide Hills Amateur Radio Society, North East Radio Club and the Elizabeth Amateur Radio Club, has delivered an outstanding training and assessment program throughout 2025. The team has successfully gained 107 candidates through intensive one-day training and examination sessions, along with a number of upgrade examinations for independently prepared candidates. A major highlight was a collaboration with Mitcham Council, supported by a council grant which enabled 2 public information sessions, 2 training courses and a field day for newly qualified foundation licensees. This VK5 training group is now working with Air Cadet squadrons to introduce amateur radio to young people with an interest in technology and aviation. Following the training of several university lecturers, discussions are also underway to explore opportunities for engaging university students. Plans are also in place to work with the caravan and camping community in the coming year. Collaboration with local councils has been a key enabler, with Mitcham Council distributing information through community newspapers and electronic communications, significantly extending the reach of amateur radio into the wider community.
Chapter 2.
From here, there and everywhere, you've tuned to the Wireless Institute of Australia's National News Service. We are VK1WIA. Now with international news, Jason, VK2LAW.
Hello. Is it snowing where you are, Mr. Thiessen? On a quiet shoreline in southern Maryland, a simple sentence made history, and the world hasn't stopped talking since. Now, 125 years later, Cobb Island invites you to stand where it all began and witness the moment that launched the wireless age. On Tuesday, December 23, 2025, the Charles County Amateur Radio Club, CCARC, hosted a public celebration commemorating the 125th anniversary of the first successful wireless transmission of the human voice, conducted by Canadian inventor Reginald Fessenden on Cobb Island in 1900. It was on Cobb Island on December 23, 1900, that Canadian inventor Reginald Fessenden, working on behalf of the US Weather Bureau, accomplished what was then believed to be impossible. He successfully transmitted a brief, intelligible voice message over the air from a transmitter site on the island to a receiver nearly a mile away. His message reportedly 1, 2, 3, 4. Is it snowing where you are, Mr. Thiessen? Marked the first known instance of radio telephony and laid the foundation for modern AM broadcasting. We want how many radios? 400. The RSGB is giving away 400 FM radio transmitter kits and Morse code tutor kits as part of its British Science Week 2026 activities. The kits are available for school, university, scout or girl guiding and cadet groups, as well as other youth-related science, technology, engineering and mathematics groups in the UK. The project is being delivered thanks to a partnership between the RSGB Outreach Team, the Radio Communications Foundation and the RSGB Legacy Fund. Israel's amateur radio operators used quiet diplomacy, saved lives. In a world where trust has become a scarce resource, amateur radio operators offer something different: human communication that connects people around the world who share the same passion. In a digital age in which screens shape reality and algorithms steer public opinion, there exists another arena, quiet and largely unnoticed, where a very different kind of communication takes place. It's the world where private individuals, enthusiasts, connect countries, break down barriers and build bridges that at times precede official policy. On October 7, 2023, an amateur radio operator named Shlomo Goldstein, who was trapped in a safe room in kibbutz Kisafim, managed to call for help via a fellow radio amateur in Ramat Gan. He was saved. In Israel, this contribution has received official recognition. The Knesset has acknowledged amateur radio operators as emergency communications operators, and dedicated legislation allows them to establish antennas and stations in their homes with minimal regulatory barriers. The law is enshrined in the state statute book and reflects a deep understanding of their national and humanitarian contribution. This item takes us to Japan, where researchers studying the ionosphere have discovered that the cooling of temperatures up there may cause major shifts in our ability to communicate by radio. Here's the story that I filed originally to Newsline. The continued cooling of the ionosphere 100 kilometres above sea level may someday disrupt and reshape shortwave communications, according to scientists at Kyushu University in Japan. The drop in ionospheric temperatures is a result of rising CO2 levels, the same phenomenon identified as the source of global warming down here on Earth. The researchers' study, published in Geophysical Research Letters, found that the cooling ionosphere lowers air density and speeds up wind circulation, two factors that have an impact on satellite orbits and space debris. In addition, the ability to communicate by radio also changes as a result of small-scale plasma irregularities. Shortwave radio, radio broadcasting, air traffic control and maritime communication could all experience a variety of major changes, the scientists said. The study leader, Wei-Xing Liu of Kyushu's Faculty of Science, told the Physics World website, quote, "This may be good news for ham radio operators, as you will likely receive more signals from faraway countries more often. For radio communications, however, especially at HF and VHF frequencies employed for aviation, ships and rescue operations, it means more noise and frequent disruption in communication and hence safety." End quote. This is Jason Daniels, VK2 LAW. In the long term, the telecommunications industry may need to respond to these changes by either adjusting their frequencies or changing the design of their equipment. In the UK, the Commonwealth Contest Community and Radio Society of Great Britain are grieving the loss of an advocate and a friend, an active ham who twice served the Radio Society as its president. Although he made his living in the world of high tech as a solid-state physicist, Bob Welland, Golf 3 Papa Julia Tango, was in so many ways a full-time radio amateur. He received his licence in 1961, focusing on CW operating on HF and LF. As his enthusiasm grew for contesting, he made a name for himself as a supporter of the Commonwealth Contest, a CW contest for operators in British Commonwealth countries such as New Zealand, Canada, here in Australia and of course the UK. He also built an online presence for its widely scattered participants, eventually writing a book about the contest's evolution. Bob had also been actively involved in the IARU and his First Class Operators Club, with a growing involvement in the Radio Society of Great Britain over the years. His participation grew from being a volunteer in the Society's HF committee to becoming president, serving from 2002 to 2003 and again in 2013 to 2014. Bob became a silent key on the 4th of December. A big thank you to John, VK4JJW, who stepped in at short notice for me last fortnight. For WIA National News in Sydney, I'm Jason, VK2LAW, wishing you a safe and happy new year.
Chapter 3.
From here, there and everywhere, you've tuned to the Wireless Institute of Australia's National News Service. We are VK1WIA. Now, operational news with Felix, VK4FUQ.
Hello there. Now, Contest-wise 2026. 2026 marks the year of many celebrations. It is the 250th anniversary of the United States Declaration of Independence. And to honour this milestone, the AWL has introduced a special year-long Worked All States Award called the America 250 WAS. This for purchase award will be available throughout 2026 via Logbook of the World, and only QSLs made via LOTW count towards the award. The America 250 WAS award is earned by confirming contact with all 50 states between 0000 hours UTC 1 January 2026 and 23:59 hours UTC 31 December 2026. So, all of the year and all of the months. 1st of January 2026 NZART Centenary 100 QSO Challenge. Ross Hull, all January. QSO Party Day contest organised by Marconi Club is scheduled for Saturday, January 3rd, 2026. Further information may be found at marconiclub.it. VHF UHF Field Day, January 5 and 6. January 2026 AX Day Contest. February 21-22 ARRL DXCW. Now let's open the DX window to the world. Amateur Radio DXpeditions has reached a key milestone. In preparing for the March 2027, yes, 2027, VP0SG South Georgia DXpedition by signing the vessel contract for the MV Meridian. This ice-strengthened vessel is ideal for the sub-Antarctic environment. Progress with the government of South Georgia and the South Sandwich Islands is positive, as they are open to collaborating on plans while the formal permit process for VP0SG will begin in 2026. 100th anniversary of the first Polish QSL confirmed QSO. The Polish Amateur Radio Union report that 100 years have passed since the first Polish QSO was confirmed by a QSL card. To commemorate this event, the Polish Amateur Radio Union, together with the SPDX Club, has organised the special call sign SN0TPAX. SN0TPAX is expected to be active throughout the rest of December, using SSB and CW. Jan DL4XT will be active holiday style as 4K/DL4XT from Azerbaijan between the 26th of December and the 3rd of January, using CW, SSB and FT8. Fine Jan on 40 metres as well as other bands from 20 through 10 metres. Special call sign LA100A is active throughout 2025 to mark the 100th anniversary of the first amateur radio two-way contact between Norway and the USA in November 1925. QSL directly to LA100A via the Bureau or QIZ.com. Switzerland. 4U0ITU is a call sign for the International Amateur Radio Club at ITU HQ in Geneva to use from 16 May to the end of the year, in celebration of the 160th anniversary of the International Telecommunication Union. QSL by LOTW, Club Logs OQRS, or direct. Croatia, 9A169 Tesla. This is a special call sign that will be used until month's end, 31 December, in celebration of the 169th anniversary since the birth of Nikola Tesla, 10 July 1856. QSOs are being uploaded to LOTW, Club Log, and QIZ Logbook. 80th anniversary of the Technical University of Sofia, operating special event station LZ80 TOS, on the air until year's end. Repeater news. The UHF repeater at Mount Chinini, ACT, has suffered interference on its 433.050 MHz input channel for many years, and as a result, Canberra Region Amateur Radio Club Committee, in conjunction with the CRARC repeater group, is making a change. Take note. This change, hopefully in January, will see a 7 MHz split. Input to be 431.050 MHz with 91.5 Hz CTCSS tone. Transmit will not change, that is 438.050 MHz with 91.5 Hz tone. Well, as we end this year of 2025, which has been a challenging year, shall we say, let's hope for a better year next year in 2026. For WIA National News, I'm Felix VK, 4FUQ Inningham.
Chapter 4.
From here, there and everywhere, you tune to the Wireless Institute of Australia's National News Service. We are VK1WIA. Now, special interest group news with Cole, VK3GTV.
Hello, and I hope everyone had an enjoyable Christmas. First in worldwide special interest group news this week, it's astronomy and wireless weather. DXLook has released a new DRAP, D-Region Absorption Prediction View, that helps amateur radio operators understand and visualize HF absorption caused by solar X-ray flares in real time. D-region absorption is a major cause of sudden daytime HF blackouts, particularly on lower frequency bands. DXLook's new DRAP view presents existing D-region absorption data in a band-aware geographic format, allowing operators to visually assess where and on which HF bands absorption may be occurring at a given moment. The DRAP view is primarily driven by official data from the NOAA Space Weather Prediction Center using the global Frequency for 1 dB absorption product based on GeoES satellite X-ray measurements. This dataset identifies for each region of the Earth the highest HF frequency expected to experience significant delay of absorption at the current time. Worldwide Special Interest Groups, CW. ARRL Straight Key Night, SKN, is just days away. Every year on January the 1st, Straight Key Night is on the air from 0000 UTC through to 2359 UTC. This 24-hour event is not a contest, rather it's a day dedicated to celebrating our CW heritage. Participants are encouraged to get on the air and simply make enjoyable, conversational CW QSOs. The use of straight keys or bugs to send CW is preferred. There are no points scored and all who participate are winners. All authorised amateur frequencies may be used, but activity has traditionally been centred on the HF bands. Logbook entries for Straight Key Night must be received by January the 31st, 2026. Votes for Best Fist and Most Interesting QSO will be tabulated and included in the results. Worldwide Special Interest Groups, Digital. Up to $25,000 at stake in new ARRL student coding competition. Pre-registration is now open for a student coding competition, a new national challenge sponsored by ARRL, the National Association for Amateur Radio. The project is designed to engage young radio amateurs in shaping the future of amateur radio through software development. Open to ARRL member amateur radio operators aged 21 and younger, the competition will invite students to design a mobile app that supports ARRL and the amateur radio community. Cash awards totaling up to $25,000 will be presented to one or more winning entries. The competition officially begins on January 1st, 2026, when complete rules and application specifications will be released at coding.arrl.org. But remember, to participate, you need to be an ARRL member. Worldwide Special Interest Groups, Final Frontier. On December 18, US President Trump signed an executive order entitled Ensuring American Space Superiority.
In this order, the President announced the policy of the US government is to return Americans to the Moon by 2028 through the Artemis program and to establish the initial elements of a permanent lunar outpost by 2030 to ensure a sustained American presence in space and enable the next steps in Mars exploration. Worldwide Special Interest Groups, IOTA, Islands on the Air, and some OC reminders. OC 047. H44MS, Malaita Island in the Solomons. Bernard H44MS will be active from Manakwai village near Maluu, northern Malaita Island, covering the 2026 period January 25 through to April 10. OC 66, TX9XG, Rangiroa Atoll. Haru JA1XGI has announced that he'll be active from Rangiroa Atoll, French Polynesia, OC 066, as TX9XG during April 1 to 8, 2026. He plans to be QRV on 40 through to 10 metres, CW, SSB, RITI and FT8, using the new IC7300 Mark II, QSL TX9XG via Haru's home call JX1XGI, using OQRS Club Log. Worldwide Special Interest Groups, Law Enforcement. Listen for the special event call sign HB70IPA, marking the 70th anniversary of the International Police Association's Swiss branch. They'll be on air until the 31st of December on various HF bands and via the QO100 satellite. Worldwide Special Interest Groups, Lowdown. On December 1st, 1924, the 200-kilowatt Alexanderson alternator with the call sign SAQ was put into commercial operation with telegram traffic from Sweden to the United States. 101 years later, the transmitter is the only remaining electromechanical transmitter from this era and is still in running condition. On Christmas Eve morning, Wednesday, December 24th, the transmitter again spread the traditional Christmas message to the whole world on 17.2 kHz CW. Worldwide Special Interest Groups, Military. Military brinkmanship between the presidents of the USA and Venezuela has led to an increase in electronic warfare in the region. An escalating standoff between the United States and Venezuela has led both countries' militaries to jam satellite navigation signals in the Caribbean to guard against a potential attack, putting air and sea traffic in the region at greater risk of a collision or accident. At least some of the US warships that have deployed to the Caribbean in recent months have been jamming GPS signals in their vicinity, according to an analysis of data provided by Stanford University and a US official who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss operational matters. The Trump administration says the warships, which include the Navy's most modern aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald R. Ford, are targeting drug trafficking to the United States orchestrated by the Venezuelan government. You can read more on that story in the New York Times via the link in our text and video versions. Worldwide Special Interest Groups, Rescue Radio. Florida, Alachua County's volunteer ham radio team, serving the County Emergency Operations Center as its backup disaster communications unit, has achieved top U.S. national honors in the 2025 Field Day competition. This long-running event, held annually since 1935, challenges teams across the country to demonstrate excellence in emergency radio communications under demanding real-world conditions. Competing against 160 Emergency Operations Center affiliated teams nationwide, the Alachua County group rose to the top with an impressive score of 9,093 points, more than 1,200 points ahead of their nearest competitor. Their setup featured 4 fully operational stations running simultaneously, along with an additional public get-on-the-air station that introduced visitors to long-distance radio communication without the use of mobile phones or the Internet. Pan Am 103 was flying from Heathrow to New York when a bomb exploded in the skies above Lockerbie, killing all 259 passengers and crew on board, as well as 11 people on the ground. As Anne and Ross Campbell were watching the news on the night of 21st December 1988, they already had go bags ready. The Ayrshire-based couple were part of the Radio Amateurs Emergency Network, RayNet, a UK-wide radio communications service. As part of the search and rescue efforts, hundreds of volunteers arrived at the scene to help, including many from RayNet. Their expertise and equipment was desperately needed. Ross said Strathclyde police radios had their own frequency. Dumfries and Galloway police had a separate one. Every police service had their own, as did ambulance services, so they couldn't communicate with one another. Each search party at Lockerbie was teamed with a Raynet operator who would send messages back to Lockerbie Academy, the disaster control room. And that's a wrap for the segment for 2025. As we head into 2026, please take care on the roads, and I'll catch you next year. 7-3 from Cole, VK3GTV.
It's a date, and there's only one thing happening here in VK for the whole of January. And it happens Sunday, the 18th of January. It's the huge car boot sale and barbecue. Reist will be holding a huge amateur radio car boot sale in the Queen's Domain compound from 11 a.m. Sunday, 18th of January. Now, there's no need to book, just turn up, as we'd like you to turn up, same time, same channel next week for the WIA National News Service. And until then, walk softly. I'm Graham, VK4 Baker Baker.
From Australia, this has been the Wireless Institute of Australia with the weekly news service. This broadcast is in text, audio and video and is accessed on wia.org.au.
Courtesy of Bevan, VK5 BD's ATV and YouTube channel, this has been WIA National News. We're back now, live and local, and your voice, your callbacks. And don't forget, tick like.